Hi guys, today I'm going to talk to you about what's in my grooming kit. I've watched a few other videos and thought it would be interesting to compare what I have in mine to what you have in yours and perhaps to what other people on YouTube have in theirs. I've seen some people, especially in the States, that have big trunks. I'm not a big fan. I've got a smaller box which has my essentials in, and I tend to have other boxes with other things in. But then I'm quite lucky as I have quite a bit of space where I keep my horses to keep my things. I don't have to keep them in one small box or one big trunk. So let's get right into it. First thing is a dandy brush. I like this dandy brush. It's got nice long bristles, not too hard, so Basil will tolerate this one. He's quite thin skinned, so he's a bit of a wimp with brushes generally, to be honest. You have to be quite careful where you're brushing him. This one is probably the best one for him, but the downside with it is it won't get the clay off. We've got so much clay in the field where I keep the horses that this brush just won't get it off. In the winter this doesn't work at all. I do have another dandy brush which has harder bristles, and this one is quite old. I think I probably got it from my aunt, but Basil won't tolerate this on him at all. It's too hard. I don't know really if you can see that on the video, but Chesney, this one's really good for Chesney, and this one gets off the clay much better than this other one, but as I said, Basil won't tolerate this on any part of his body because he's so thin skinned. So I have to stick with this one, and quite often I resort to my rubber curry comb to get the clay off Basil. I love this rubber curry comb, to be honest. It's so comfy, it's a brilliant size. I tend to use it a lot to get the clay off all of the horses that I groom. Basil will tolerate this on some parts of his body. Some you have to be extra gentle on, but to get the mud off. It's also really useful at this time of year to get all the loose hair, that sort of thing from them. Okay, so I love that. I sometimes use it actually to clean the dandy brush off like that. Metal curry comb, which we'll come to in a minute, I find gets caught in the bristles of a dandy brush, but I find this really useful to keep that relatively clean whilst you're grooming. Obviously you still have to wash them every now and again. So the next thing I've got in here is body brush. Like this body brush, good nice size. Sometimes I think the straps are a bit too loose because it wobbles around in your hand a bit, but as I said, it's a good size, nice soft bristles. Really like using this. I don't body brush much in the winter if they're not rugged up. Generally they have rugs on, to be honest. Basil is a wimp, as I've said before, so he has to have rugs on because he gets cold, shivery, loses weight, absolute nightmare. Chesney's getting old now. He's one of the other horses we have, and he does really need rugging up now throughout the winter. So that's my body brush. And as I said, I like this body brush. Really quite pleased with this one. I've had it quite a long time though. Next thing I've got in here is the metal curry comb. I'm not a big fan. Do use them. I think they're a bit lethal, to be honest. So I really only use it if I'm giving really good groom with the body brush. You're supposed to put it on hold it like that on your hand, and then push the body brush across it. As you can imagine, if you did that, then you scrape your arm. Has been known by me. Not recently, thank goodness. I do try desperately hard to remember to use it like that. Problem with using it like that is when you come to tap it on the floor to clean it, you have to move it. Whereas if you're holding it like that, you can just tap it. So sometimes I'm a bit lazy, and that's when accidents happen. So that's the metal curry comb that I use with the body brush. Right, next thing I have in here is my little face brush. I love these. They're just so cute somehow. It's just for using on the face. because it's nice and small. A lot of horses, if they're head shy, don't like these big ones waving around in their eyes and their faces. Mine are quite good now. When I first had Basil, he was quite head shy, but now he's fine, so I can use a bigger brush on him. But just to go around the eye area, these are nice and soft. You can just get around nice and gently. Obviously, absolutely no use at all for getting any mud off. Then I think you can get some nice little cubes with like pimples on, which are a bit like this thing here. They're like in a square, but I haven't got one of those, but maybe I'll treat myself to one of those one day. So as I've got this out, I'll talk to you about this next. This is a bit of a disastrous purchase really, because I chose the wrong size and I can't get my hand in the jolly thing, which is very annoying. It is quite useful for getting the mud off. I do use it sometimes, but as I say, I won't put my hand in now because it takes quite a long time to get it back off again. So I do use that sometimes, but really I tend to use the rubber curry comb. This is useful on Basil sometimes when he's got mud in an area that he won't tolerate that big rubber curry comb. So I do use that sometimes. Right, next thing I've got is mane combs. I've got a big mane comb that I use to comb the mane, funnily enough, and to do the tail. I do often just use my fingers in their tails because I find these so easy to break the hairs, and it seems to me that once their tails get thin because you've broken their head, they never ever recover. So I always use these on my fingers, but when I use this I use it very gently, and if I come across a big knot I tend to tease it apart with my fingers anyway, just to make sure that I don't lose too many hairs out there. Tails. Mane's very useful though. They seem to recover much more quickly with having hairs pulled out and that sort of thing, so very useful for that. I've also got a little one. Can you see that? It's not very good in the light, is it? A little one for pulling. That's about it really. I mean, I use this for pulling their manes, which I don't do probably as often as I should do. I do it once or twice a year, but Chesney won't tolerate having his mane pulled at all, so I have to use one of those special solo combs, which I haven't got in my kit here. It's not an essential, so it's not in there. This is in there because it's so small. It makes no odds that it's in there, but I don't use this really on a regular basis. Now, also in here is, I haven't got a normal hoof pick actually, because I tend to keep my hoof pick with the tub that I pick their hooves out into. I try to always pick their hooves out into a tub, which they have got used to. Initially I guess they're a bit nervous about it, but they do get used to it very quickly. If you're careful with it, you don't make a huge big noise, bang it around and that sort of thing, they do get used to it. The one I have got in here is a one with a brush on the end. I can't get on with these for picking out feet. Don't quite really know why. I find them quite cumbersome with the brush on the end, to be honest, and a bit big, and I also find this I can't get on with them. It's too fat here somehow. I do quite like the brush for just cleaning out their feet if you're going to oil them. I don't find water brushes any use for that at all. I know that's what their water brushes in theory is one of their uses, but I don't find they're any good because the bristles are too soft. So I tend to use this often to just clean them out before I want to oil them. I also then, what else do I have in here? Oh, I have a funny thing. I don't really know what you call these, to be honest. Sometimes use this for washing. I don't bath them very often now. I'm not a big fan of bathing horses. I think it gets rid of all the oils in their skin that is their waterproofing, so I don't do that very often. I don't really tend to use this brush side. This again is a bit like this blue glove thing that I bought, and I bought this blue glove thing because this was quite big and cumbersome, but this was a mistake. I think I won this in some sort of riding school competition, but I've still got it, and it's still in this grooming kit because I do use it. The other thing I've got is a funny woolly mitt, which is like, instead of a stable rubber, makes them all shiny when you're finished. I do use this sometimes if I'm making them look want to make them look extra shiny for the day. They don't last very long. The shine obviously doesn't last very long because they quite quickly get dirty or hot or something, so sometimes I do use that though, and they're useful if you're going to a show, just to wipe them over, just to get the last of the loose hairs off and any dust sitting on the surface before you go in the ring. I also have, which I won't get out, I've got 2 sponges, so I'll show you those in a moment actually, I'll leave them in the box, and then my, you can't see that at all in the light, can you? It is, can you see it up here? It's basically conditioner that you use on them. A lot of people put it all over the coat. I don't do that because then it gets on your hands and then you've got slippery reins and you can't do anything. So I tend to use it in the tails mostly, because if I keep the tails nice and silky, they're easy to comb through, you get less breakages and the tails stay nice and big and full. Sometimes I use it in the manes if the manes have got quite tangled or really muddy, because it does help the mud come out. If you keep them regularly done with this stuff, then the mud tends not to stick so much to their manes and tails, but I don't do it that often because it all adds up. It's expensive to use this stuff all the time, so I just use it every now and again, always after I've washed their tails though, then they start off nice and silky. So then all I've got left is this box. This is the box I've got. It's relatively clean. I have this, in this little section here I keep this bottom sponge, and this is the eyes, nose and mouth sponge. So I'll obviously keep them separate, you don't want them to touch. Like this box, I fix all my essentials in, carry it around, brilliant. It's not too heavy. I think this is great. So that's what I use on sort of an everyday basis. So that's everything I've got in my grooming kit. Love to hear what you've got in yours. Let me know, or if you've got any suggestions to things that I should have in mine and use on a day-to-day basis. Anyway, so thanks very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure you subscribe below, and I'll see you next time. Bye!